Yo, what's up, everyone? It's your boy Jack OATz to go. You either know or you don't. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the channel like you always do, supporting your boy. I really, really love the vibes that you guys have been giving me over the past couple of years. So, anyway, we are coming now into some pretty deep territory involving Black Clover and the Advent and the Tree of Death and all that good stuff. You know, we're finding more and more about devils. And as most of you have been here throughout some of my journey, delving into the lore of, both the Tree of Life and Death, but mostly Death, and reading up on these devils and informing you guys on what I find. You guys have now seen I've purchased some books, and I actually just got two more in the mail. I got one today. It's actually a few days early. I was not expecting it at all. So I was super hyped as soon as I was supposed to go out and go get drunk and with some friends, and I decided not to because I wanted to read this, and I'm already about halfway through this book. It's a good, let's see, it's about a good 300 pages. So, I mean, I really buckled down because I'm very interested in what's going on. But today, I want to start with, this is dead center of the book as appropriate, because this is actually talking about the dead center of, well, kind of both trees, but we will be talking about the darker side of the tree. But I do want to make a couple shout outs first. First shout out, SMB. I see you. You're always in the comment section below. You're always, interacting on Twitter, and I really appreciate you. You're one of the very few that are staying here, and one of the reasons why I feel comfortable and blessed enough to turn on the camera and not feel like I'm just talking out into the void. So I want to thank you, but I also want to thank you for this. I made a tweet just about, it says 56 minutes ago, so about an hour ago, talking about briefly something I read in this book that I just got. And I won't name it yet because I want to do a separate video to reveal what it is. But very reputable source. And it talks about a certain force that's used, that this devil that resides there uses. And I found it very interesting because it supports a theory that I've had for a little over a year now. And if you guys are very familiar with the channel, you guys know that I'm founded this Belphegor theory and this whole story behind how Dante's devil is not Lucifer, but it's in fact Belphegor, who's known for lying and shapeshifting and being close to Lucifer and all that. But this passage details a whole lot. But there's a part in this where it brings up a source of energy that is very much like gravity, but is not gravity. And so, as I posted on Twitter, and SMB replies, as you see here, I'm 99% sure I remember in a promotion page of Jump for the Triad in the anime it mentioned gravity may not be his true magic. Now, I started out super excited. I was like, no way, because I don't really keep up with those sorts of things. Like when you guys find those, like when we just got the Black Bulls in suits and ties and funeral attire. I don't know where to find stuff like that. I have no idea what that is. I don't know where to find interview pages. I've never been that type of reader that finds all that stuff. And I'm not your guy when you want to know what Black Clover sales are like. I'm not the guy who knows that stuff. I really don't care. But S&B rolled up with this. I started out excited. I was like, oh no, this has to be right. And then I thought back and I was like, oh wait, since I didn't have the picture right offhand, I was thinking oh, well, it might have been just revealed before he revealed his body magic. So it's just saying that gravity is not Dante's magic. Body magic is instead Dante's magic, and gravity belongs to his devil. But we got a response from another follower, now a mutual, because he just came in clutch completely. Trevo Prado gave us the page that SMB was talking about. And right here, it shows Dante's magic equals body magic. And then it says below, Lucifero's magic equals gravity with a question mark in parentheses. So this is wildly important and super, super relevant to what I'm about to give to you guys. So again, shout out to Trevo Prado and shout out to SMB. Follow those guys on Twitter. Like I said, SMB is super supportive. Trevo, this is honestly like the first time he's ever interacted to my knowledge, and he came in completely clutch. So thank you guys so much. Anyway, let's jump into this. Like I said, this is smack dab in the middle of the book, which is appropriate because we are talking about the middle of both trees of life and death, which is known as Tagerian on the Tree of Life, otherwise known as Tiferet on the Tree of Death. And this is where Belphegor resides. So for a little while, I kind of started, talking less and less about Belphegor because there was some stuff that kind of backs up that Dante might have Lucifero, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe Belphegor is not the thing, but it very well could be. And I'm just gonna, this is honestly not a pre-planned video. I'm just gonna read to you what I found. This is, let's see, it's a good 3.5 pages, okay? And I'm gonna stop in between to give you guys just like what's going on in my head and how we can parallel this to what we see happening in Black Clover. So let's just get started. So it's labeled Tagerian. This is going clip by clip, Sephira by Sephira, descriptive in all sense. Just giving us what happens there, what it's all about, what it represents on many different levels, and also some background in dark Kabbalism or Gothic Kabbalism, which is going to be a bigger video. I'm still reading The Night Side of Runes, trying to get a better grasp. I'm not still reading, I'm on my second read through. Just trying to get a better understanding before I roll out information. I don't want to, mix wires and stuff like that. Anyway, let's go. Tagerian. This is the sixth clipotic level, or the fifth counting from the levels of initiation. Now, what that means, levels of initiation, where we have OATz, which is the very first clip. They don't consider that a clip of initiation. It just has a hand in forming the actual planet. So just like on the other side of the Tree of Life, Malkuth would not be considered an actual Sephira of initiation. It would be the one above that, which is Yesod. So just for reference. But this clipotic level is called Tagerian, which means dispute or juridical process. This can be interpreted in several ways. Sometimes as the religious juridical process in which Satan is the prosecutor on God's behalf, or as a place where the judgment of God and his administration of justice are located. Apart from numerous mythological interpretations, the name of the clipot denote their antinomian nature that works against the laws of the bright side. All clipot bear pejorative names since they act as antitheses to the present order. Now, this description is longer than the others just because it is the middle of both trees and it connects to every single initiatory path. So you have to understand the working of the trees and what they mean just a little more before we can actually get into what Tagerian is. Just so you know, since the Sephiroth of the light idealize unity, the shadow side is associated with disunity. This also explains the signification of dispute in the name Tagerian. Tagerian is the central klippa on the Han, excuse me if I I'm going to butcher some of these things. Ha Elan Ha Hizon, the clipotic outer tree. The klippa is the shadow side of Tiferet on the Sephiroth. Both spheres correspond to the child or offspring, and Tiferet is associated with Christ and messianic characters, while Tagerian is associated with the Antichrist and the Beast 666. Now, I just made a tweet off of the other book that I got that goes along with this book. It's kind of complimentary, where I mentioned that if Magicula is in fact the princess of the Satariel, which it's looking like she might be, or she might be someone else, I might make another video, or I might just make a short tweet about another possibility for her. However, if she's the princess of the Satariel, that means her name is Iset, and she mated with Samael, a fallen angel, who in Crowley's clip in the last video, as I described, and as we saw in the book, is in the place where Lucifero would be. Instead, he is a fallen angel there. So, I'm sorry, not where Lucifero is, where Belial and Beelzebub would be. But the offspring between the two of them created Belphegor, and they also call him Kiowa, and they also call Belphegor the Beast, and he is related to the number 666. Just so you guys know. So this is further supporting. So the former characters preach salvation through them. Jesus explains in the Bible that he is the only way to salvation, something that is questioned by the latter, who emphasizes man's possibility to save himself. Tiferet and Tagerian are both associated with different human characters who channel the Force from this level, such as Bodhisattvas. There's a lot of cross lore in here, which is why I bought this, because Tabata is referencing a lot of cross lore. So this is talking about Indian lore, and you'll see that there are going to be some names that come up, and you guys will be like, oh shit. Okay. Anyway, these are secret masters or prophets. Since this level is the central sphere on the tree, people who are on this level are able to mediate between the worlds above and the worlds below. And when they say people that reach this level, they mean this is corresponding to things like the Order of the Silver Star, Order of the Rosy Cross. In this sense, this is more of the Order of the Rosy Cross, because that is the level that a mage would have to be. So this is talking about more magical transcendentation of a person, descending into these meditative levels. Strong personalities can be associated with either of the two levels depending on the preference of the general public. To Muslim then, Muhammad is a Tiferet character. Of course, Muslims do not generally use the symbolism. While he is viewed by some Christians as the Antichrist, and thus as a Tagerian character. In the early stages of his career, Hitler was viewed as something of a messiah who would save Germany. At that stage, he assumed a Tiferet role. So what he's talking about is just giving examples of like what this looks like. I said this back when I started talking about the Order of the Golden Dawn, Rosy Cross, and Silver Star, that they call each of these spheres, like when you see Malkut, Keter, all that stuff, these are modes of living. So when you reach a certain stage in life, like let's just say like for the first two clips within the Tree of Death, they're very influenced in like sexual drive, and just as reference, like when you're super young and your sexual drive is high, and that's for any animal, any living being. Essentially, you're in the prime of your life, so your sexual urges are going to be higher than later stages of your life. So in that sense, you are in the mode of Nemat, or in the mode of what's it called? We'll call it Lilith for now, or Gamaliel, something like that. Yeah. So that's what they mean. So they're talking about like Hitler assumed this Tiferet role. Muhammad assumed this Tiferet role as well. To go on. But after the war, Hitler was viewed as the beast personified and is now one of the most popular characters to portray as the Antichrist. Nero, Genghis Khan, Attila the Hun, and many other powerful men have been called the Antichrist and were characters on which people projected the shadow. Philosophers and mystics like Nietzsche, Crowley, and Gurdjieff, crazy names, Gurdjieff have, on more valid grounds, been connected with Tagerian since they have preached that man can save himself. And they have also used Tagerian-related symbolic language. An individual can channel Tagerian and be a mouthpiece for the lore of the shadow side. For all the depths, this level means illumination. Both Tiferet and Tagerian belong to the solar sphere. We've said this on the channel so many times that not only is the Tree of Life and Death super interesting for just angelic and demonic lore, it's again one of the very first models of having a heliocentric galaxy. So where Tiferet represents the sun, the The shadow side of that, Tagerian, which is what we're talking about, resembles the black sun, which this author will go over a little more in depth in just a bit. But that's why we see the symbol on Dante's chest, where, yes, that is gravity, but then it starts looking like the Shadow Palace's symbol when he reaches 100%, and that is the black sun. So to go back a little bit, both Tiferet and Tagerian belong to the solar sphere, or the mental level, and here the magician comes into contact with his or her higher self, or lower self, depending on how one is holding the map. The magician encounters his demon, who, on the bright side, takes the shape of the holy guardian angel, a term inspired by the holy magic of Bremelin. On the dark side, the demon takes the shape of the beast or totem animal. The bright side is characterized by an intellectual illumination, while the dark side leads to an instinctive illumination in which force, vision, and action are united. On the bright side, one reaches an intellectual distance to the here and now, while the dark side leads to a complete presence in the here and now. On some levels of the initiatory path, the dark and the bright side are united, and the solar level, on the solar level, the magician can experience the unity between the holy guardian angel and the beast. The magician's daemon unites both the light and the darkness within, like the Gnostic god Abraxas, who is associated with this level. So here we just cross lore again. We're talking about the Gnostic god Abraxas. So if this devil is not in fact Belphegor or Lucifero, we could have a case where this god is actually Abraxas. However, this does say that it unites both the light and the darkness within. So just take Dante's 100% form and just kind of piece it together from there, right? In alchemy, one has reached the state of the yellow diamond on this level called citrinitas. The solar sphere also corresponds to topaz and gold in alchemy. Keter de Thaumael is represented by gold in a higher red form. When it says Keter de Thaumael, they're just talking about the correspondences, because Keter is correspondent to Thaumael and vice versa. Many adepts experience strong feelings of lust when reaching the sun sphere. So as we see with Dante, he's wanting to make Vanessa and Gray his wives, meaning he's polyamorous and doesn't really care about that. Like this, monotonous commitment that society pushes. And we also see that he tried drowning himself in sex and violence, trying to find deeper meaning in life. So just an attribute to Black Clover in this book. Here they become one with the goals and ideals they have strived for. So as we see with Dante's huge speech of malice and all that stuff, he wants to live in a world where only the strong exist, and he gets to create that world. This is his goal, his ideal, in full form. He is going for that. The adept experiences a completion within his whole being, or the self, as it is often called in psychological terminology. This is heaven for the religious, or hell for those who would rather go there. And as Dante says, he would rather have a hellish world. The Bodhi level, or Satori in Eastern mysticism. For black magicians, the ascent to this level leads to a feeling of total power, but not in the naive and illusory form that can be experienced now and again on the previous levels. For the white magician, a feeling of total benevolence arises. Both of these states are too self-sufficient and become a trap for numerous spiritual wanderers. The sun level and the material level are only halfway on the initiatory path. This sphere can, in simple terminology, be designated a level on which the adept experiences everything of himself in its full capacity and experiences his whole being with the destructive and creative sides in balance. But beyond this level, the higher levels begin. The star sphere, or the transcendental sphere, which could be called a level where the adept becomes more than himself, is the level to which the assiduous magician strives. Tiferet corresponds to the sun in its bright form, while Tagerian corresponds to the black sun, as we just said. The black sun represents the sun in its inner form, where it shines inside inside man and over the hidden clipotic worlds. Now remember, we go back to the 100% form of Dante, where light starts leaking out of these cracks. But take what we just said. The black sun represents the sun in its inner form, where it shines inside man and over the hidden clipotic worlds. So it's leaking through from the inside, as opposed to the sun, the actual sun, being light on the outside and shielding the dark. The common sun is the outer sun that shines over the mundane world. The black sun corresponds to the god Set in Egyptian mythology, while the mundane sun corresponds to his twin Horus. So note that they mention twins here, where we do have Morris with identical markings as Dante does. Just saying. In Nordic mythology, Balder is occasionally associated with the common sun, while the black sun's correspondence is to either Loki or Balder's blind brother Hoder. Now, they just mentioned a blind brother Hoder, which is clearly a reference to Morris. So we're about halfway through this portion talking about Tiferet, where Belphegor resides. And as I've been saying for over a year, this devil has more to do with Belphegor than anything else to me. And this just kind of puts a nail in a coffin, where they mention Balder's brother, blind brother, Hoder. And we have a guy like Morris. Anyway, let's go on. One can find aspects of Hoder that suggest that he is a form of Odin, and Odin is also associated with the Black Sun. So like I said earlier, you're going to hear a lot of names that could be associated with this in the Gothic Kabbalah. Tagerian is the son of the shadow side, which can be interpreted as the sun in the underworld, which in myth is personified by Balder in Hell, Ra and Amenti, or by other solar gods in Kingdom of Death. Now, we've talked about Amenti before. If you don't remember that, go back to the video where I talk about is the chosen one. I was also going to say something here, and I think I'm forgetting. It'll come back to me. Anyway, let's go on. The sun is the symbol of the complete self, or just the self, which can reach consciousness and illumination only in the underworld. Before man has confronted his own death and darker aspects, he lives screened off from major parts of himself. By facing one's death and by entering the dark path, can man reach illumination and absolute knowledge about himself. This is illustrated by the Egyptian god Khepera, who embodies the principle of existence and becoming. Khepera carries the sun down to the underworld, where he is reborn as his own offspring. This is going to be a different video. This is very important, and we kind of talked about this concerning Asa and Liabe. But yeah, just keep that in the back of your head. Be on the lookout for another video that will go into depth about this. The sun that he carries represents his self, and only in the underworld can the god create himself. This is the draconian path that I did talk about. In an ancient Egyptian text, Khepera says, "I am Khepera, the one who has created himself." The black sun, or the Tagerian principle, is not merely the sun in the underworld, but a force that has a more independent relation to the self. The black sun is a principle that shines on the self during its journey into the unconscious. The black sun is the inner or central sun that generates illumination and divine force in man. We can also find descriptions of an outer black sun. In that case, we are discussing legends about a world inside the earth, a world that is illuminated by its own sun, called the black sun. These legends were recreated by the esoteric writer Sir Bulwer Lytton in his Vril stories, which depict a people who are living inside the earth and are in possession of a force called Vril. So here's where we start talking about this other force. Now, before I do this, in both of these books, they describe in the tunnels that connect the spheres to each other in both in the Tree of Death, not both, but in the Tree of Death, are dark elves. And these in this book, it says that they took refuge from what was a huge flood inside of the earth, and then grew stronger due to the harsh natures of the underworld, essentially. But they are in possession of a force called Vril. Another, and he doesn't really talk about Vril in this book. This is something I had to look up and research on my own, and I should have just pulled up. But essentially, Vril is this almost. They describe it as like this liquid. It's very hard to describe, and this is why on my initial post, I put that I was gonna say that the devil lied to Dante calling it gravity magic, but I think the fact of the matter is that it described it as the gravity magic, or just relayed it to him as gravity magic, just because Vril is a little, I won't even say a little bit, it is a lot harder to explain, but it can be akin to gravity depending on how it's used. It does have much destructive force as well as it does creative and healing forces. So this is not the full extent of this devil's abilities, I am very sure, which is why it's so compatible with Dante, who can just heal himself very well through his body magic. But this Vril they describe as almost this liquid that is that pretty much shapes all matter, can be very destructive, like I said, or very healing, or can be used as a creative force. But this was the big thing here, is that Dante's magic, or Lucifero's magic, and Lucifero in quotes, this is Belphegor to me. I'm revamping this theory, that this is Belphegor. So I believe that Belphegor's actual magic is Vril and not gravity. Another speculation regarding an outer black sun claims that there is a black sun in the middle of the universe, or alternatively in the center of our Milky Way galaxy, which radiates through the universe with a light that to man is perceived as an empty darkness. It is said to generate the dark matter that fills the universe. So, like I said in other videos, how the Kabbalistic tree of life/death does resemble a heliocentric model. You also have the 11th pseudo-sephira dot, which we talk about a whole lot on this channel, as the abyss. And this is exactly what is said to be at the center of our galaxy, the Milky Way, as it just said. Is supposed to be pretty much the generator of our galaxy, with its huge amounts of gravity along with the sun. So to go on, the black sun is the generator behind the forces that in occult texts are called Vril, Odd, the world Kundalini, or the dragon force. And if you're a big fan of Berserk, you recognize that it said Vril and then Odd. So I was thinking about just doing a read through of Berserk and then making these parallels, because Berserk is actually a more true to lore series than Black Clover is. Honestly, there's some stuff in here I was like, damn, like the whole Advent that Griffith went through is exactly what we're reading in just one part, but in all completed parts. I mean, he went over everything, and Mura was a different beast, and it's so crazy that I haven't seen another like Anituber go over this, and I'll be more than happy to be that Anituber, honestly. This is so interesting. All right. Tagerian and the Black Sun can be described as the principles that channel those forces of chaos from outside the universe which flow into this universe, both as life-giving and death-bringing forces. So now let's think of gravity, right? This is life-bringing. Without gravity, we would not really cease to exist, but I mean, you can't live in a place without gravity. It's just that simple. So in a sense, it is life-bringing. In a sense, it is definitely death-bringing, because you cannot live in a place that has too much of that shit. You will die. As we see Dante clearly using gravity to kill people. Tagerian corresponds to the beast of the Book of Revelation. This force can be found in Old Norse mythology as the Fenris wolf, and Tagerian is ruled by the demon Belphegor in the Goetic Kabbalah. The horned god in his many shapes is a personification of the solar energy that beams from Tagerian. Now, I was gonna save a bit of this for a bigger video, but they mentioned the horn god in his many shapes is a personification of the solar energy that beams from Tagerian. So remember on this channel back when we introduced Noct, one of the most immediate parallels I made after having him have devils that belong to the Vietnamese zodiac was that he resembles a lot of the neo-pagan horned god or the triple deity. And in my Jack Clover theory that I just put out, my most recent one, I do have Noct and Morgan actually as cambions, which is a result of succubi and, just another devil. And the reason why Noct is so good at being possessing devils, rather, and letting them possess him like he did against Lilith and Nama is because he is essentially part devil. And this goes back to a much further back video where I talk about how Noct, Yami, Asta, Lucifero, and possibly Xenon's devil are going to be considered a cross-reference to Jotun. And we'll see. And this does talk about how Jotun reside in the later levels of the Qliphoth. So, I mean, I made a tweet about this too, but like, I was spitting before I knew I was actually spitting. Honestly, it has to go down this way or I'm quitting. No, I'm just kidding. But I think the parallels are there. You guys tell me whether or not they are. We got a few more sentences here, so I'm just going to finish out. The sun demon Sarath originates from Tagerian and has the same numerical value as the beast of the apocalypse, which is 666. The number 666 is the number of the black sun and carries the key to the formula Shemhamfarash, which is the true name of God. Hopefully I don't get smited for that one. And the number 72, which both correspond to the secret name of God and the 72 demons in the Goetic magic. So, that is the excerpt from this book that I just got. You guys are going to enjoy when I reveal, like, I mean, some of you might be scared, but, like, I think you'll, in the long run, just enjoy the information that it brings to the table. It's really interesting stuff, as you can hear from what I read. But if you guys are, like, super interested in it, I don't mind going, like, just chapter by chapter, especially in that book. That is by far my favorite purchase I've ever got, especially in these last few ones. I do like the Night Side of the Runes. The Golden Dawn text is really good. This other book that I got is really, I don't know. It's, to me, this one's like a clear number one, and then the rest are like tied at number two, honestly. Actually, Night Side of Runes is 2, and then the other ones are tied at 3. But I think you guys are gonna like the information coming up on this channel a whole lot. I'm definitely getting revamped into reading just more compiled lore about this, and the fact that this author is so hell-bent, unironically, on, you know, making sense of the cross lore, makes it even more worth the read, especially for this context. So I'm going to leave it at that. So we are back on the Dante and Belphegor swag right now. If you made it this far, put hashtag Belphegor on the end of whatever comment you're going to make, so I know that you made it this far and you're a true one. Again, thank you SMB and thank you Trevo Prado for the info that I did not know was out there, but further supports that Dante's Devil's magic is more than likely not going to be described as gravity later on, and instead described as Vril, and we might see that if we see dark elves come out of these tunnels that they should be in the Qliphoth. So we will see, and maybe even Patri can shed some light on this. No pun intended, but you know, he did go dark elf. He is still half dark elf, and the Dryad does have a lot of information. So we could see Patri with possibly not just light magic, but also Vril. So yeah, super interesting stuff. I hope you guys like this. I enjoyed making this video. I enjoyed reading that to you guys, and I enjoyed making parallels with you guys. So if you enjoyed it, make sure you let me know in the comment section below so I know to make more videos like this. I will actually ask you guys, I haven't asked you guys for this in a solid year, actually. Leave a like on this. Share this out. I think this is really informative stuff. And if you're like a super true Black Clover fan, you probably really do appreciate the lore Tabbat is giving us. If you're a casual reader, it's whatever, like, you know. But I like Black Clover because it's so lore driven, and it's esoteric lore, which is, as the name implies, it's just mysterious and it's not popular. So a lot of it is hidden and stigmatized. And a lot of it, you know, I actually got into a conversation on Twitter with one of my mutuals who asked, you know, how do I feel reading these books? And I felt like the connotation behind it was like, you know, it's like deemed as an evil book that you're reading. But you know, honestly, reading the history on this, and I briefly talk about this in a few videos where we have guys like Cornelius Agrippa, who is, you know, trend setting as far as philosophy, math, and science goes, who also ends up studying magic and alchemy, and creating this goetic compendium of demons, or organizing it rather, and making sense of angels, heaven and hell, and earth, and the universe at large at the same time, was being condemned to death so much that Augustus, the first ruler of Rome, protected him by giving him rank, which is what I'm thinking is happening in the series with Magicula and the Agrippas, and the Kiras. That's why I believe that they are, you know, held to high esteem, and they were granted protection by the state, or by the country state, or whatever, that they're in, because the things that Agrippa brought to the table are directly beneficial to people in power who have direct access to that information and can use that however they want, but can also hide it from the public at large. So a lot of this information ended up being, this comes into damnatio memoriae, which is what they call the erasing of history. So it just gently dies down over time and completely forgotten after a while. So we talk about that when Damnatio was introduced to the story, and it's a very intentional name. And I do bring up reasons why, like, you know, how is the lore of devils being completely like, just they're just finding out about it when there's, you know, they were very real things with very real attachments to the world. So someone is hiding this information for whatever end. We don't know yet, but it will have to do with the government. And I just saw a tweet, and I don't know who posted it. I don't really care. But it was saying something to the effect of, like, there's not going to be a government arc. It doesn't have to be an arc. The government's going to exist. The politics will exist without an arc specifically. I still will predict the Kiras will be exposed and found out, if not by the end of this arc, into the next arc. Politics and esoteric societies and magic, math, magic, philosophy, all has to do with politics. I was going to say you can't have one without the other. You can, but in this context, you cannot. They are very closely intertwined. So I will start bracing for a more political background to things. Not a specific governmental arc, but a background to things. So I will end the video here. It's long enough. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope this holds you over for a bit. I don't know if I'll make any videos over the weekend because I'm going to be focused on reading more of this, honestly. So yeah, let me know what you thought about this in the comment section below. Again, hashtag Belphegor if you made it this far. Hit me up on Twitter if you don't want to hit me up in the comment section, whatever. Like, share. I'll actually probably try to push this video. I'm also I meant to tell you guys last video. So, while I am very interested in this stuff and what it brings to the table for Black Clover, this is more of a personal endeavor for me. I'm very curious on the information. I'm not trying to like summon demons or angels or anything like that. It is just good information that kind of feeds the soul, something that I've been lacking. And as I put in one of my own personal videos, how I was raised in a Christian upbringing. I went to Christian school and all that, and things didn't sit right with me since kindergarten. I was asking some pretty big questions that was met with just violence and straight up getting suspended and all that stuff. So things just never sat right, and I even tried, getting back into it, and it still didn't sit right. Hit a philosophy class, and I found spirituality just not, I didn't know about this sort of stuff in depth, outside of it being just like a demonic cult or something like that. So, with that said, I think I'm going to try growing this channel a lot more. This is, again, not going to be solely Black Clover. Kaiju number 8's picking up a whole lot, so I'm going to be putting out Kaiju number 8 content for sure. I'll probably be talking about some Elusive Samurai as well. My Hero looks pretty interesting again, so I might catch up on that and make more content on that. As well as, God, what's it called? Sakamoto Days, just for a fun series to put on this channel. But and whatever stuff, and I hope you guys just rock with it in whatever I do. Boruto, of course. I know those other non-Black Clover videos don't get as much views or whatnot, but hopefully you guys will see like what I see in these series. I don't read them just casually. It's gotta hit a certain way for me, and I do look deeper into things, as you guys already know. So I hope you guys give the time of day, but I'm trying to set my goal to be, I'm going for 3,500 subs on this channel by, it is July, so 3,500 by November, by the end of November. And if I don't hit that goal, I will probably start weaning off of this channel and just focus on podcasting and music. So I'm just going to leave it up to you guys whether you want the channel to grow or not. This is my channel just as much as it is yours, so I hope you guys do take pride in it. Not to like guilt trip you into it or not. It's just, this is pretty time consuming stuff, and I would much rather spend my time doing things that people will definitely appreciate, instead of, doing it. And not that I maybe completely leave the channel alone, but it would be far much more casual than it already is. So I will strive to be more consistent, and I'm working on getting an editor right now, so that you're not just in this podcast form, just listening to my voice, and just actually make something alluring to the eye as well. So hopefully you guys stick around. But anyway, thank you guys for making it this far. You guys are goats. I will see you in the next video. You guys stay safe, stay out of the way. This has been Jack Goes to Go. You either know